Hi, I'm Tamara Caulder Richardson, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel, where we explore the afterlife and beyond. Well, hello everyone. I'm Tamara. I hope you're having a great day, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel. Before we begin with our guests, which I'm totally thrilled to have on, Karen Kay from the UK, the Fairy Whisperer, let me go over just a couple announcements and then we will get cracking on. So, wanted to mention that please sign up for my Ascension School, Academy of Divine Wisdom. I have free and paid for classes. All you need to do is register. I don't send out a lot of emails, so you won't be, that's something you don't need to worry about. Also, if you want an evidential psychic medium, you can go to my southernbellmedium.com site, sign up for that. And if you want star seed readings, you can go to Academy of Divine Wisdom, but look under services and you'll see the star seed readings. And then I have the seekingheavenstore.com where you can find merchandise. And then finally, sign up for this channel. Sign up, watch, share, as well as make comments. I try to answer everyone. Okay, so today we are talking about fairies and fae, one of my favorite topics. So I want to tell you a little bit about Karen Kay, which is the UK's fairy whisperer. Although she's not around the globe, she's wonderful. So we had Karen. Karen was on about 2 years ago, and I just hit it off with her. I thought she's an incredible person. She's gone from being a backup singer to Flock of Seagulls to being an international oracle card deck, and now her new book, which let me put here, is the Hay House new book, Fairy Whispering 111, which I love that title. And she's here. She does a lot. We're going to talk about her Three Wishes Fairy Festival and Glastonbury, which is very popular, her Fae magazine, and she's just busy. And so I'm just so appreciative of the time that she's here. So let me bring her on.
Yay.
Yay. And I did that without having to put on my fairy glasses. So that's good. It's look how adorable you are. You have such wonderful, beautiful energy. And every time I see your feed and Instagram, I get excited. I'm like, oh, there's Karen. And I have to show my husband. I'm like, look how adorable she is this time. So it's so nice for you to be here. Last time we talked on the conch shells on the Merphone, and we didn't have to do that this time. We thought we would change it up with technology. So wow, there's so much that I want to talk to you about, and this new book now. Fairy whispering. This is a big deal. You've done lots of things in the past, and I do want to show people real quick. You have a best-selling with Hay House, Oracle of the Fairies, as well as Messages from the Mermaids. They're so much fun. I have both, and you should get that too. But then you now have your first book, Fairy Whispering, and I'm just kind of letting people know where your evolution. You've done so many things. And we're going to go into that. But now you're going to be releasing Pocket Oracle of the Fairies. And absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Oh, stunning. I mean, just stunning. Look at you. And then now manifesting with the fairies. And now is that a pocket size as well?
No, Manifesting with the Fairies is the standard size oracle, the same as Oracle of the Fairies and Messages from the Mermaids. But the new Pocket Oracle of the Fairies is fairy size. So I've actually got they're really tiny.
Oh, wait, let's see. Oh, I like it. It's good for little hands.
That's a normal size deck. Sorry, it's a bit light. And then that's
Oh.
so you can put them in
Oh.
a handbag. They fit in my hand. So
they're made for like little baby hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Fairy hands. That's great. Yeah. Oh, you thought about the fairy. See how thoughtful you are. Well, let me put us on full screen so they can see you, and then we can. I'm going to put your thing underneath here. I want to go into, really. I mean, I know the story, but people are new to you. Some of them. And I want you to tell, our viewers here how you got interested in fairies, when that happened, how that happened.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me back on your magical, magical show. And you are adorable too, Tamara. And I'm loving your crown and just your vibe. It's just so cool.
Oh,
So
thank
yeah,
you.
and there's a bit of Faye in you too, isn't there?
A whole lot. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll see my family later on, and that's
Oh.
definitely true.
So yeah, when I was a young child, that's my earliest memory recollection of the fairies was when I was a little girl and I was in my grandmother's garden. Now, I only just recently found out from my mother that my grandmother did also believe in fairies, and she used to tell fairy stories to my mum when she was little. So but I didn't remember that part of it, but I do know that I had my first fairy experiences with my grandmother in her garden. So she had the most beautiful garden, and it would be full of roses, all the wild natural flowers, and very, very fragrant. I remember the smell. It's like, I love roses to this day because of my
Mhm.
memories then. And as
Mhm.
she was pruning the roses, I would collect up all the petals, put them in a pot, and then I'd mush them all up, add some water, and then I'd leave them between her garage and the neighbour's garage. So it's like a liminal space. And I would leave the pot there. I don't ask me why I put it there. I was a child. That's just what I did naturally. And that was my offering, my gift for the fairies. And I'd leave it out overnight, and then I'd check the next day. I didn't do this every day, but I did do it fairly frequently. And then I'd check the next day, and the perfume, it was actually rose water, but to
Mhm.
me, I was making perfume for the flower fairies. It would always
You
be gone.
were.
It would always go. So I knew that they accepted it. And then the more kind of scientifically minded might say, well, of course the water evaporated overnight, but even if it did, they would have taken the evaporations of the rose water. So I knew. And then I would perceive them as little points of dancing light. So, tiny kind of pinpricks of light in all different colors, really vivid, a kind of electrical energy.
Mm.
If they were piercing through from their realm into the human realm. And I would see this usually from the corner of my eyes, and it's literally stayed with me until now. And then when I was a teenager, I started to question it. We all get that little, well, usually I think most of us get this rebellious phase of our lives. And I was thinking, well, I don't know if fairies are even cool, I don't know if they're cool. And what are these lights that I'm seeing? So I took myself to the opticians. I did not say, I think I'm seeing fairies. I just said, check my eyes out. And I had an eye test, and I had 20/20 vision. So they said, your eyesight is perfect. And that to me confirmed that what I was seeing was what I knew I was seeing, which was fairies. And their lights are very different from the angelic lights, because I see those as
Yes.
well. And I find the
Yeah.
angelic lights are larger, softer, and more pulsing.
That's how I see it too. And actually, let me jump in here real quick.
Sure.
Last time you were on here, and I encourage everybody to go back. Is a great interview, so go back and look. There's a couple, one with the seashell, and one with another one. They were fantastic. One on fairies and one on mermaids. We had fairy action because we kept seeing look like lightning bugs, and I kind of just got the feeling, I feel, I want to, I kind of feel into things. It felt like they were really excited that
Yeah.
we were joining together and in celebration of them. And then I even a couple times we saw the lightning, but and then I heard, there was like a little, and
Yeah.
so
I remember.
yeah. Do you know they appeared to me in the forest. I'm not from, well, that's not true. The whole world is magical. Okay. The nature is magical, but
Yes.
it's not like Ireland. Although a lot of Irish people and Scottish migrated to where I live. I don't know why, but it's just a ton of them here in the South, in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the whole North and South Carolina. I don't know, but that's where they migrated. I guess they followed their families, but I've
Yeah.
heard of the stories, but we don't really talk about it so much here, but it was about 15, 20 years ago. I was walking through the woods with two other ladies. It was a park. And as it began getting darker, we started hearing giggles through the forest. It was all of us heard it. And we saw the little lightning. And then I started noticing that they're around. And then I started honoring them and thanking them for the land and their space and keeping it clean. But when I see angels, I'll see it like on my wall. It's like I'll see a bigger, more airy color of, like, if it's Michael, it'll be blue. If it's Metatron, it'll like be pink and green. It's more airy
Yeah.
and open. So it's interesting that you see them the same way that I do. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's super cool. And sometimes when I see the lights, they they'll often land on people, or I'll see lots of people, and then the lights will draw me to certain people. And I get this a lot, and then I think, does that person know that they've got a fairy guide, or that there's a connection with fairies? And sometimes they don't even know. And so they'll
Mm.
say something, and I'll say, oh, you're this blah blah blah, whatever it is, because the fairy might land on their throat or on their shoulder, on their head, or somewhere, the fairy lights. And I tell them, and usually that triggers a response or a remembering or something like this. So they definitely, that's how they usually communicate with me, as well as telepathically in meditation. So like all of the oracle decks that I've written with the fairy decks, I've meditated and tuned in, and it is me writing it, but the fairies inspire
Yes.
me, and it comes through the filter of my heart, but it's their
Wonderful.
energy, and that's what comes through. And it was the same when I worked with the mermaids as well. I went down to the beach every day pretty much and just meditated and let that beautiful
Mm.
sea wisdom come through. But the book, oh my gosh, I'm so
Okay.
excited.
Well,
Yeah,
all right. So let's go back. I know there's so much I want to get, but I want people to see how wonderful you are and how you came to the book and how you've been integrated with the fairy world and how they can too.
yeah.
Because we talked about that a little bit last time, and I want you to talk more about that. And I would, and I could totally see how there's a merging of you and your fairy friends. They're really your friends, and how you're doing this together, which to me, you're this world needs that now. It needs to have a more childlike, playful way. It needs to not be so serious or so dark. It needs to lighten up
Yeah.
and to just be a being of love. It's just so needed. Don't you agree?
Oh, 1,000,000% it is needed. Um, and just because we allow this playful side, it's like the fairies activate our inner child, which we all have, whether it's stifled down or whether we allow that inner child to come out and play. Our younger selves, our inner child is always there. And very often it can get just covered over by worldly woes and worldly concerns and things like that. But it is possible to be in connection with your inner child and play in life, and it just, it's more healthy, it makes you feel more alive, more
Yes.
vital, more energized, um just because it just brings back this innocent joy for life. And very
Yes.
often that is colored over. And also we're taught as we grow up, oh, that's airy fairy, that's fairy tales, that's for children. But
Mm.
actually it's for adults as well, because we all have that inner child within us. And I've got to a point in my life where I've well and truly stepped out of the closet, of the fairy closet, and I'm
Yes,
like,
you have.
yeah, I definitely have. There's no going back to Narnia now. It's like I'm here, and people know me for that. And most people are really lovely, and they often say, "Oh, I'm so glad you're doing this, and I've had this experience," and they'll share it with me. And some people are a little bit like, "Oh, she's bonkers," and that's fine. Like, I really don't mind what people think, because
Sure.
I know I'm very confident of my footing in the world and how I
Yeah.
tread gently on the earth, and that what I'm doing is spreading love and joy through the connection with
Mm.
fairies, and also bringing people back to their connection with our beautiful planet Earth, Mother Gaia, which is so, so
Yes.
important now
Mm.
more than at any other time.
Yes, that's beautifully said. And, where do you think that now, because your relationship has developed with I'm just going to call them fairy friends, guides. It's kind of a formal word. I mean, they're your friends.
Yeah.
They've accepted you, you've accepted them, you've had a love relationship for some time. There's many. So, what is your relationship starting from a child to now as a grown up? How they have manifested in your life, because then people may want to know how they can do that too. And of course, we're going to have them buy the book, but how do they manifest in your life now, besides your materials that you do and your products, but just you as a person?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Tamara. Thank you for asking that. So with me as a person, because before everything else that I do, my writing, my creativity, my singing, everything, I am a person first. Well, I actually say half fairy, half human, half mermaid. I know that's three halves, but maths isn't my forte. But going out into nature for me, physically as a person, it charges me, it recharges my
Yes.
batteries. And I think, especially today, not enough people go out enough. I'm always saying, go outside. Is it raining? It doesn't matter. You can get wet, you can dry yourself off with a towel. Let nature, connect with nature in a
Oh,
physical way, because we're designed to do that. And it helps nature when we connect with nature, and it helps us. And actually, there's no separation, because we are a part of nature too. So
yeah.
for me, it is that connection and the joy of that connection that I feel inclined, inspired to share through my work. So there's no separation with what I do. It's just all an expression of this beautiful connection with my fairy friends. And I do also say the fairy friendship that I have. It's yeah, you can call them guides, you can call them whatever you like. But they're there. And it's not just one or two, as you can probably see. Like, I've got a whole team that I
Yeah.
work with, and they know. And it isn't just me. I'm not the only fairy whisperer in the world. There are many people that
Well,
fairies
you are to me.
are. But what I mean is, it's like, it's not a unique thing to,
Okay.
I've got the platform, I've got all the work out about it, but there are people who are working quite sometimes quietly with fairies and having that connection. They just get super, super excited when they find a human who is open-hearted and open-minded enough to allow that connection to happen, and for their inspirations to come through. So with me, I'm like an open book, literally. So they know that they can, oh, let's just plant this little idea in Karen. And sometimes I'm like, that sounds a bit crazy, but I try it anyway, usually. But
Right.
also remembering that I am sovereign. We are all sovereign. So whenever the voices tell us to do stuff, it's really, really important to tune into yourself, into that
Mhm.
quiet, small, still part of ourselves, to think, is this right for me? Because these ideas, and if it doesn't land with you, it will land with someone else. So the ideas will manifest through someone at some point. It's just really knowing, is this right for me? And being very sovereign about that as well.
Yes, that's with anything that we get, and using our discernment and deciding, is this good for me now or not? So, one of the things that you mentioned, I think it's so important. There's so much to cover. You have such a depth and love and passion for this topic. But one of the things that's come up for me, which when it came up for me, I thought of you. Like, I was so excited to tell you, and then I'll get you a copy of it when I talked about the angelic beginnings of Lemuria and how it was seeded not only by that Fae, or you could say fairies, or the fae, which maybe you can talk about what you think fae is, was part of the seeding of early humanity, and how it was important because they understand nature and also procreation of like seedings and flowers, and just the organic beauty of creation. I feel like so many of us are hybrid fae. And matter of fact, I won't say who it is, but I did have a guest on a while back that was a Bigfoot Sasquatch guy, very well known in Canada. And I said, "You're a fae," and they actually picked you to kind of watch over them. He goes, "Nobody knows that." He's this big guy. He's like a tree, you know. And I'm like, "Well, I do." So Can you speak about, what is Fae and what do you think a Fae hybrid human is?
Okay, so for me, there are lots of different labels, if you like, names. So we've got fairies, fairy, fae, elementals. They all come under that umbrella as well. And fae is, for me, like a general term for these energy beings of the earth, for nature spirits, for earth spirits, for elemental beings who are close to the earth realm. So sometimes people say, oh, nature angels, but they're not angels, because angels are a very different energy. But fairies, or the fae, can ascend to the angelic, and this is shown in the work of Brian Froud and in his oracle deck. He's done a fairy oracle deck, and he actually denotes these beings as, they're called singers, like as in la, but they don't sing. I don't think they do, but they do have a vibration, and they are fairies that are ascending. And that was one of the very first conversations that I had with Brian Froud, and it was fascinating because it's not something that people really even consider. So fairies are divine. They've had a bad rap over the years from usually organized religions that have kind of cast them in a different type of I don't even
Kind
know
of
what the word is.
demonic, some kind of pan demonic weird
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, just to
Yeah,
make them out to be bad, when
yeah,
actually, that, look, when you meet people, you meet nice people and you meet not so nice people. It's the same
yeah.
with the fae, it's the same with the fairies. And also, I feel like you attract what you need, and you like attracts like as well. So
Yes.
if you're, I've experienced all types of fairies, and it is just like, if you meet people and it's like, hey, I don't really want to spend time with you, it's about your boundaries and having that. So what I always say is, when you are connecting with fairies and the fae, is to have your spiritual protection in place. And I say this for any type of spiritual work, which I'm sure you do as well, because we open up to these beings, and our light attracts all beings from all over the place, and they might be nice and they might be not so nice. So having that protection in place, that only love, only beings of love and light may penetrate this space that I'm in, having that as your really clear statement of intent can be super helpful. And I do talk about various ways to do this protection in the book as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. So tell us, what type of things can people expect when they purchase the book Fairy Whispering?
So fairy whispering, like you said earlier, 111, 111 magical practices for connecting with the fairies. And that's a lot. And when I was writing it, the fairies were almost like drip feeding me their inspiration, because I got up to 70, 70. It flowed all of these different ideas. And I was, even as I was writing, I was thinking, wow, I had no idea that there were so many different ways that we can connect with the fae. And then I got to 70, 70, and it just stopped. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should change the name of the book to 70 Ways to Connect with the Fairies. And then I got the booklet from Hay House that says all the forthcoming books, and it said 111 magical practices. I was like, okay, I can't change the name. I'm like, fairies, you've got to help me here, fairies, come on. And they giggle, as they do, and they said, it's okay, just go out, and every time you go outside, we're going to give you more ways to connect with us. And that's what happened. But what the really beautiful thing about this was, for me as a person, I experienced writer's block when I got to 70. And that meant I'm a real author, because I'm experiencing writer's block, which is something I'd never experienced before.
So
So
what happened? It just nothing came for a while?
it just, it was flowing so quickly until I got to
Right.
70, and then it stopped, and I was like,
Okay.
oh. And that was the feeling. But instead of panicking, I did say to the fairies, you've got to show up for me here. um,
Right.
I actually was also enjoying that experience, because this is what real authors go through. So I
Oh,
thought,
that's
I
cute.
must be a real author, even though I've written all of my oracle cards and the little guidebooks, because this is a big book, you know, a gift book.
Yeah.
It just had a different feeling with it. So that was really fun. And basically, there are so many different ways. So there are incantations, affirmations, rituals, spells, lots of ways, and simple, like just meditations, just simple ways that we can open and connect with the Fae for all levels. So it can be somebody coming into it knowing completely nothing, a complete kind of beginner, and there'll be ways in the book that you can try. And I always suggest at the end of each chapter that you write down your findings, because very often we will experience things and it's not documented, and then the memory will fade of that as time goes on. Fortunately, when we had our last conversation, it's recorded, so we know that the little lights were happening and all these things. But sometimes our minds can come in and say, well, did I see that? What did I experience? And our
Right.
mind tries to rationalize it. So it's really important, and I do stress this in the book, that to write down your experiences after trying each of the magical practices. And you don't have to go through it methodically from 1 to 111. What I suggest as well is, like, you just hold the book to your heart and then just tune in. Fairies, what do I need to know right now? And then just flick through, open the page. What have we got? Hold stones as portals to fairyland. I've got the fairy fizzes, yay. Did I talk about that last time? The fairy fizzes is like,
No,
have
I've
you
got
got?
some stones. I've got to pick one.
Wow.
It's like, it looks like a bar of soap, but it's selenite. Somebody gave it to me.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And somebody actually gave me, I always find stones with holes in when I'm out. I just seem to find them, but somebody gave me a stone with not one hole, but two natural holes in it.
Ooh, did you make a necklace from it?
Not yet, but
Oh.
I'm still connecting with it, but it's very powerful. But in the book, one of the things that you can do is use one of these hold stones to glimpse through into fairyland.
I love it.
You can do that, and just, it's about putting yourself in this meditative space, relaxing, and there's breathing techniques in the book as well to get you in the zone, in the space, and just how to be aware of these things that may or may not happen. Because with fairies, there are never any guarantees. It's not an exact science, but there are certain things that you can do that will open that metaphorical fairy door for you if you go through some of the exercises.
So let me ask you this. Don't you think that this is what I know to be true, but you tell me. I feel like that when you kind of surrender to that inner child and laugh and play and dance, like where you just go outside and you dance and you do this, it really seems to stir up some fairy energy.
They love partying. I mean, fairies love to, they celebrate.
Yeah.
They're so joyful because they celebrate the earth. They just are grateful and in this beautiful energy, and that's part of the reason why I started up my fairy events as well, because it's
We've got to see that. We're gonna jump there since you're talking about it,
oh,
because let me just plug this for you here. Now, Karen is, first of all, an incredible person. I think a lot of her. She's, very credible. Buy all her stuff. Go to, just enter her name on Amazon, buy everything. But she's also got this amazing, which I'm hoping to go next year. I need to go. So I need to find like an excuse in another way, and then so I can just show up. It doesn't matter how. I want to be there, and I need to bring my Fae mom. So tell us about this. I've got several images. Tell us about this. You've had it for how many years? This Three Wishes Fairy Festival.
so I think it's 19 years now, and this was inspired by the fairies, and it started back in 2007, the Three Wishes Fairy Festival. And they were just really I want to say bossy, but they were really enthusiastic, and I heard them telepathically, and they said, you need to organise a fairy festival. It needs to be at midsummer. It needs to be in Cornwall. And there's this whole list of things. It was like, whoa, hang on a minute. And I tuned in and I thought, this sounds like a good idea. And I was like, okay, so if you want this to happen, then you need to help me manifest somewhere to do it. And within a week or two, I was introduced to someone who owned some land, and it had a stage, it had all the infrastructure there that you would need for a festival. And then I remember saying to the fairies, I feel, because there wasn't anything in the UK. So I did the first fairy ball back in 2006.
I
And
mean,
I
the
know
fairy
there was,
ball. How
yeah,
awesome is that? I
oh,
mean,
honestly,
that alone. I mean, if I didn't know anything about you and you said, I do this fairy ball, that would just be like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. That would just be
oh,
like the best. Just if that's all
oh.
you ever did. That's so cool.
So, well, that I I've always, because I come from originally London, I was always a bit of a party girl. I love going out. But as I became more mature and more spiritually aware, I didn't feel so comfortable going into those types of environment. But I
Right.
loved to party, but I didn't really feel fully safe. So I wanted to create a
Mhm.
space where I could dress up, I could dance, I could be with like-minded others,
Oh, that
and
is
and
cool.
celebrate the fairies. And so when I did this first fairy ball in 2006, I had no idea if anyone would come, because I was creating my perfect event. What would I want to go to? What would I want to do? And so I just made this event, and I think internet was probably around, but not to the extent that it is now. Back in 2006, it was
Mm-mm.
fairly early with everything,
Mhm.
especially
True.
social media. But somehow the word spread, word of mouth, and my first event sold out, and I haven't got a clue how it sold out. And all of these people just came from almost under the stones, out of the woodwork. They've been hiding away, not knowing that
Wow.
there was this whole community. But also, I didn't know that there was this whole community either.
You
And
have
that
started a whole thing. Look at this. Now
found it.
it's global. This fairy thing's taken a flame.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of those people who came to the very first one, we've all grown in different ways, and many of us are still friends. And so from that, um I realized there was a community that I didn't know about, and I was very happy about, because it's like you feel like you're the only one. You feel like with fairies, very often it's like, oh, nobody else thinks this or believes this or knows this. And so when you meet all these other people who all kind of feel the same, it's just such a beautiful thing. And that's also how the magazine came about, because I'd worked for the BBC as a broadcast journalist, and I couldn't stay in that environment, because of my spirituality, and I
Right.
was just too sensitive to be in a
Sure.
newsroom. Although I did love
Right.
my colleagues and I loved
Mhm.
working there, it was just too intense for me. And I thought, I've got all of these skills. I've done, I've been to university, I've studied law, media law, everything. And I
I
was like,
didn't know all this about you, Karen.
a lot of
This
people
this is
don't.
no, well, yeah, okay, the flock of seagulls thing, that was really okay, you've just got so many cool factors. That was neat, which is interesting because my grandparents were toured in music for, like, a living, and
Yeah,
then I married someone who's a musician on Capitol Records and did all that. Owned
yeah,
an ad agency, but I didn't like that world. I thought people were jerks, and so not so much the clients sometimes, but mainly, just the business.
yeah.
And then it's the same thing, but don't you use all these skills? So you went to law school?
I did a postgraduate diploma in broadcast journalism, and law, media law was a section of
Uh,
that. Now,
mm,
I when I was at school, I just wanted to play. I didn't want to learn. I mean, I wanted to read, write, and know the basics, but I remember saying to them at school, I want to be an actress, a model, a singer. And if you can't teach me that, I don't want to know. And I was really naughty. And so by the time I'd had my children and I was a bit older, I thought, I really want to learn now, because I've got this brain that wants information, and what do I want to do? And I wanted to work in the media. But the reason that I wanted to work in the media is because I always saw it as this dark space, and I wanted to go into it and shine a light
Oh,
from within.
oh my gosh, we are sisters. We are such sisters. I had no idea. This is my secret plan too. You've already taken it. And so you can transmute that darkness into light, but then at some point you go, time's moving on. There's a lot to go on. Maybe that's kind of like a harder thing. Maybe there's a better way to do things. I mean, no, that's just me. I'm not talking for you.
Yeah, but I know what you mean, and it just got, for me, I just found that the news environment was very heavy, energetically heavy. But as I said, I loved my colleagues and I'm still friends with many of them, but I knew that path wasn't for me. And so this fairy path just unfolded, and I thought, well, I've got all these skills, because I'd also worked for some magazines. So I'd done print journalism as well before I did broadcast journalism. And then I thought, I'm going to create a fanzine, a fairy fanzine for the community. So that's how Fae magazine started. And I didn't know, again, if anybody's going to want this, if anybody's going to read it. And I created this issue, and it was so much fun because I also do graphic design as well, and I love doing that. I created, this is the latest issue.
I didn't know you did that, because I'm a trained graphic designer. I came from a broadcast family. I'm a trained slogan and copyright, but the thing is like what, and I'm so eclectic like you. I'm very eclectic that I'm thinking, how are we going to use it? But isn't it interesting? I use it on producing this channel. I use it on helping promote other people. I use it. But I mean, like, who would have known? Who would have thought I would have waited my whole life to find, it took a while, but, but who's counting if you live forever?
Exactly.
But this is I didn't know you also did graphic design. I cannot believe how much we have in common. I just liked you because you were cool. I didn't know that we had so much in common.
Yeah, so I just love it. I used to do collage when I was really young, and I would just spend like days getting all these magazines and cutting out all these images, and then I'd get a big wallpaper table, where you paste the wallpaper, a big table. I'd put out a roll of wallpaper on reverse side, and then I would spray this spray glue onto it, and then I would just let all the images that I'd cut out fall onto the paper, and they would create all of these amazing graphics. And I haven't got it. I have got it here, but I don't know where it is. I've got one from way back then that I did, and it had fairies in it, but I didn't know that would be my future. It's really bizarre. Now I kind of do digital collage, if you like. So anyway, I do
Photoshop. Do you use Photoshop or Illustrator?
Yeah, I work with Photoshop. Yeah,
Me too.
I used to work with a free program called Micrographics, and only those who know, we're going right back to the beginning of computers. Well, not the beginning of time, but a long way back. And I remember my first printer said to me, how do you make this magazine? And I was like, micrographics. And he said, what? How are you doing this? And it's like, I always say, where there's a will, there's a Fae. Not where there's a will, there's a Fae.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Can I quote you on that? Karen Kay says, if there's a will, there's a Fae. And then you've got to do you got to do the little fairy one thing at the end. Where's my fairy one? Okay. If there's a will, there's a Fae. That is awesome. But it's interesting because I was getting ready today, putting on my little fairy crown, and I had some fairy trauma. I couldn't figure out to go rainbow or do the green and white. Anyway, so I'm in there going, I really admire Karen because I've seen how she's morphed and how she keeps morphing and moving through the next thing, and go, okay, this is next. I'm moving through the next thing, from being a rock and roller to your broadcast and graphics to to all the products that you've done with the Fae magazine, the Oracle cards, now the Fairy Whisperer book. And you keep pushing that envelope because you do it and you do it. I'm hearing you now and I'm going, because I'm like that here, all the way across the planet. I'm doing it. I do it out of a childlike play and go, well, I keep getting yes on this, so I guess I'm going to go, the Galactic Origins cruise and talk about fish people. I'm like, okay, then I
That's
guess I'm
great.
coming out of the box. And I'm like, can't really go back from that, and I'm like, what do you do? I mean, I'm like, either you're like fully bold and go forward and go, okay, well, let's do this.
Yeah.
And then but I think that you to me are a huge role model in just your life. And now I see how way on the other side of the globe, I don't always have all the answers, but I do follow if I continue to get pushes in an area, and I
Yeah.
don't really always know how it's going to end up,
Yeah.
but I've learned to trust this loving universe
Yeah.
and the reason that I'm here, and the divinity and other people and the beauty and all that stuff. And so I just wanted to mention that. I was thinking about that in the bathroom about you. And that's why I encourage people to check you out, and also your process, because you have a very rich life. And I think people need to give themselves permission that they don't have to stay in the dead end job. They don't have to stay with the person they're not in love with anymore. They don't have to do, I mean, I'm not promoting a bunch of breakups out there. I'm just saying you need to live your truest, authentic self, whether that puts you on a spaceship or, in a tree in fairyland.
Yeah, wherever that might lead. And there are always going to be excuses for people not to do that. And I've certainly made excuses in my life why I needed to stay in a certain place that wasn't bringing my heart full joy. But then it gets to the point, and I just think tomorrow is not given.
Amen,
Now
sister.
is given. Right now is given. Right now
Come
is the
on.
gift.
Come
And if
on.
not now, when?
Faye it.
Yeah, exactly. I will say it. And so it's just, this is our life. It's a gift. It's such a precious
Oh,
gift. And
yes.
very often people get into this routine where it becomes mundane, and there's so much joy in life, especially when you throw yourself off the metaphorical cliff. I'm not telling people to jump off cliffs, but
Yeah, exactly.
to just think, what is it that brings my heart joy? What is it that is going to bring me joy, and in turn be of service to others? That's the ultimate for me. So I can share my joy, but also be serving others, and helping them. And I get so many messages from people, because sometimes I'm always surprised when people show up to my talks and my workshops. And I know that sounds silly, but
Cute. No, I do too. I'm like, oh, you came from Puerto Rico? Why? I'm sorry. That's
and
that. I'm just, I don't know. Maybe, but that's good. It's good to be humble.
yeah, well, it's just I just think, oh, they've probably heard me. Why would they want to hear me again? But they do. And it's just, I just feel so blessed that people are choosing to spend their time with me, whether that is with working with the oracle cards or reading the book or coming to see me in person. However that may manifest for them, that connection, it is such a blessing for me. And I think, wow. And it's not easy. You'll know yourself when you kind of almost cut the umbilical cord of working in a kind of 9-to-5 type of job that isn't bringing your heart joy. Now, I'm not saying that all jobs are like that, because I know people that are very fulfilled in a job like that, and
That's right.
all people are needed in all areas of the
Absolutely.
service, like nurses, doctors, people serving in restaurants, the chefs. All of these people are needed, mechanics, dentists. I could go on and on and on. And they find their fulfillment from that. Now, it is very different from fairies, but we all have our place in this world, and we're all doing our bit to lift up humankind in the ways that we can.
No, I agree. And I love that example about the collage. And you said, and basically, it seemed like your unconscious mind of what gives you joy came through that. And I want everybody to do this exercise. You do something like that. What is it that you enjoy doing for pure pleasure, no other reason? That's just sit. And you know what? Something probably you're embarrassed about. Like, I don't tell people I do this. You know what I like? You know what I've been doing for years? I love sci fi, especially monster movies, but I've been collecting toy tin, like the old timey where, I mean, I'm not that old. I mean, maybe my mom or my grandparents' age, but I just like them. Where you spin it a bit and then a rocket opens up and people come out, or it's
Wow.
mechanical. It's not batteries, it's old,
Yeah.
like 10 rockets, 10 spaceships, 10. I have one that's like a little female with little tin breast, and then like you wind her up and she goes walking along. But and then sometimes I'll spin it around. I have like trolls around. I like trolls. I got so much. I mean, here's the thing. People complain, wow, they're kind of like toys. I've got dragons everywhere. But this is what I'm saying. Whatever opens that inner child. I love dragons.
Yeah.
Got this Pegasus. I don't, okay, you know,
Oh, yay.
and then I've got and so I like the white dragon. And so, so I don't give a crap if people look at my place and they go, you know, who there's no grown up that lives here,
Yeah.
because it gives me joy. And I think people have become too sanitized and too serious. And this is what, to me, propels you out of, or into your true highest self, which you are definitely, an example of. I wanted to ask you, going back to the Fae hybrids.
Mhm.
Um, Okay. Yeah, I see you doing a lot of stuff. Man, I'm getting so much information on you. You are going to just rock it. You are speaking of that rocket. That's going to be you. Uh, you need an assistant. Okay.
I
So,
do. Thanks for saying that. You're not the first person to say that. I need a PA, a pixie assistant.
Ooh. Oh, Faye. That okay. That is exactly what you need. Yeah, they need to be miniature with this little hand so they can, collect small things. You know what? It's funny because let me ask you this. This is just a silly thing.
Mhm.
I'm obsessed with shiny stuff. I always have been. So is my mom. I'm obsessed with disco balls because that's a lot of mirrors.
Yeah.
And I love to party. I never, and my mom's the same way. I said she's like 80. It's like, I don't mean craziness. I mean just like, yay, have fun, ha
Yeah.
ha, that kind of stuff. And but I think fairies are attracted to, like, I got crystals, but I like real shiny ones. And
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
shiny stuff everywhere. Like if it's shiny, shinier the better. I have so many shiny metallic clothes. Are you the same way? Do you like shiny things?
Yeah. I always have. I've always loved shiny things, and I mean, I'm dressed in gold stars, so I've always loved
Yeah, it's beautiful.
universe, and I feel like the reason for me anyway that I'm drawn to shiny things, it's they say magpies, the birds are drawn to shiny things, but also if you I also feel like I've come from the stars, and so the shininess reminds me of the universe and that connection. So anything that looks like the galaxy, anything iridescent,
Mhm.
anything sparkly, exactly like what you've said, just shiny. I wanted to get like a jacket made of mirrors. Like that's what I'd really like.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you would love my closet. One day, another time.
One yet.
I have metallic, which is really weird. I bought it from the UK. I have a turquoise and a hot pink one, leather motorcycle jacket, metallic.
Wow.
And I had it sent from the UK. You should have access to that. Yeah, because y'all have some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So getting back to the shiny, I'm just saying that because that seems to be something that fairies like, but I like that. And getting back to the Fae humans, I can see that in someone, but I just see the qualities. And one thing I wanted us to cover is you've got fairies that are out in your yard or or out in nature, but then there's another aspect of it where we're not separate from. We're also not only in communion with them, but isn't there a part of our multidimensional self that is also been a fae or have some fae DNA lineage?
Yeah. I definitely believe that there is, and I also believe more than etheric that it's physical. So I feel like I have Fae DNA, and I've said this in the past, and
Mm-hmm.
some people have laughed, some people have said, oh yeah, I feel like that too. And there are, you can go right back into it's like history and folklore intermingled, if you like, where the small
Yeah.
people, the little people, especially in Ireland, they say
Mm-hmm.
the little people because they were a race of people.
Yeah.
And because of the way humanity was, and the way humanity is still to a degree, present company excluded, that humanity wasn't very nice to nature, and so these people
Mm.
withdrew, they retracted, and some of them did breed with humans, and so that's where the DNA, the Fae DNA, comes from. And it might sound like a little bit far-fetched, but
Nope.
anything is possible, and that's what my belief is. I don't try and convert or preach to people about these things. I just, it's like an inner knowing, and when you know it, you don't have to prove it or share that
Yep.
with anybody else. It's just an inner knowing. And people do say to me, like, they always say, oh, you look like a mermaid fairy, or they always say that to me. And I do feel like that, but I also have the human element as well, and that enables me to function and be magical at the same time. So it's
Yes.
win-win, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And this to me, I think that, like I said, when I had past life and saw things and put it together, 100% was the Fae involved with our human origins. But I think that, like you said, it's more, we get that mixture mixed in with myth and what that really means. But, there's, but people that you could say that are hippies or love nature, or, I mean, that's a part of a Fae. They're different Fae sects. Interestingly, I've seen on like the EDM scene, the electric dance music scene, is that there's a scene that some of them just like mushrooms, and they'll go walk around with all this earth stuff on their heads. And I'm like, and I'm like, it's a certain niche of that. That's all. It's
Yeah.
like, and they love that. And I'm like, wow, it's a whole scene. And everybody's like so beautiful and so friendly and sweet. So, your book, they can purchase your book now.
Yeah. Yep. It's out in the world, in the big wide world, and it's got like gold. I don't know if you can see like a gold. Oh yeah, it's like got
Beautiful.
beautiful gold foil on it, and it's dedicated to my grandmother, Christabel Ellen
Oh,
Delamere, and
what's her name again? Say it again.
Christabel Ellen Delamere, and she
Oh.
is the one who opened the fairy door for me. So that's why this book is dedicated to her.
Okay, because she actually came through earlier. I'm not trying to be strange,
Oh no,
but
it's
my grandmother is Ada May, and they said she's got two names. And then I was getting two names, and I felt she was around you, and I just think it's for love and support, without going into a whole thing. But
yeah,
yeah, that she's just so. I mean, you're close to her, and she knows. That love bond is never broken, and
yeah,
this is it's a doorway, an invisible doorway between this life and other lives and so
yeah,
forth. But she's so supportive of you and so proud. And it's like you're taking the generation of the family ancestrally to a whole new level because you were brave enough to say, let's try.
yeah. Yes, why not?
Why not? And I think what happened to everybody got so fear-based, whatever, or why not just go, hey, let's have fun? Why not? What's the
Yeah,
worst thing? You don't like something, what do? You politely back out. No, thank you. It's not
yeah,
for me. It's not my cup of
yeah,
tea. I mean, right? You can
yeah,
always say no. You can always change your mind, but why
exactly.
not? And explore new avenues. So you've got the book, and tell me when your fairy festival, that is in August, correct?
It was in August this year. I haven't set the dates yet. They should be coming out soon, so it's more than likely going to be around the same time. But the best thing is to go on that website, fairyfestival.co.uk, and then sign up to the newsletter. And then when any information is released, it will be announced first and foremost through there.
Okay, great. And then you have your Fame magazine now. When is that published? When
So
does that come out?
that it was 4 times a year, but with everything else that I'm doing, I
Oh,
can't produce 4 magazines a year now. So
no, that's
it's
too
2
much.
or 3 a year. And it was quarterly, but now it's kind of oh,
You got no, don't worry about it. I know. Look, people don't understand. That's why I'm very grateful for you being here. I understand, but I also want people to, I want them to buy your stuff and to know
oh,
about how great you are and start following you. So I think this is important. So yeah, you'll get to the Faye magazine. I mean, you've been doing this for how many years?
again, this started in 2007. So I'm
Okay.
actually working on the new issue now. So it should be out this side of 2024, or at the very least at the beginning of 2025.
Okay, great. And I want to tell them about the Pocket Oracle of Fairies. This is this available now?
Yeah, it is available now, and I've got. Shall I pull a little card for everyone?
Oh, let's do. Let's do. Okay, this is so exciting. So this is from your deck.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh my
get it up,
goodness.
so you
From
can
the
see.
fairy size deck.
Yeah, let's see. A message for everyone and anyone who is watching this show,
Yeah.
whenever they're watching, is the oh, there you go, flew out. They always fly out.
Ooh.
Oh, I've got fairy fizzes. This is so beautiful. This is magical blessings.
Oh, oh, I want to cry. That just feels so right. That just feels right. You
Yeah,
know?
it feels it just
Oh.
they always just fly out. I'm so obviously I'm
Oh.
really connected because I've
Oh.
but
It
magic
just
blessings. It's like 3 fairies, their hands are in the air, there's beautiful fairy dust coming out of their hands, going up into the heavens and showering back down upon us and seeking heaven. This is the name of this is for you, these blessings are for you, Tamara, and for everybody watching, because sometimes we forget that we are being blessed. Sometimes we feel like we've been forgotten and things are going wrong. But this card is a reminder that you are blessed. We are all blessed. And the fairies are showering us with their
oh,
magical fairy blessings, and to be open to receiving them, whether you believe in the fairies or not. Why not just give the idea a go? Like, just imagine it could be true. I know it is true, but
oh, it is true. I mean, you can feel the presence and the energy, and I thank you, fairies. I appreciate it, and I'll receive all your blessings and try to and look, hopefully all this will help let people know that fairies are real.
yeah,
They are.
they are. They definitely
They are. They're just but wouldn't you consider, fairies, from I mean, I know that for most people, wouldn't that be considered like another realm that's bleeding into our realm, another dimension kinda thing? I feel like they're right here, but there's a whole magical fairyland, that's so adjacent close to ours. Can you, explain that?
yeah, so the way I perceive that and the way I try to describe that is that they are here, very much here on this earth, in what I call a parallel dimension. So
Mhm.
that's why when we see these lights, when we see the fairy lights, that is them piercing through the veil of their dimension through into ours. And they do this at will if they want to. If they want you to notice them, they will find a way to show themselves. Now, it's not always in the form of lights. Sometimes it's in the form of actual full beings with wings and everything. And sometimes they'll manifest as a leaf fairy in the shape of a leaf with a body, or a twig, or a tree, or they'll just come through because they are nature. So they're here, but they are also in their parallel dimension, and that can penetrate. So we're living alongside them anyway, whether we're aware of them or not. And we don't have to believe in them because they believe in us. They
Yeah.
need us.
And we are also existing in both. We're existing in this reality we share,
Yeah,
and we're also existing in other realities. And not just in your astral state, but other places. You know, it made me think of something, Karen, and I totally forgot about it. And I just thank you for this memory that popped in my head. I don't know why. I'm so touched. So I was very close to my grandparents, and when they were going through my grandmother's things, it was my granddaddy passed first and then her. I was close like you were with your grandmother, and she was very magical. I actually have a picture of her holding a wand. I said fairy godmother, and I actually had it printed on a t-shirt. She loved it. They came across this very old print, and it was very, I mean, it was odd. I mean, I won't say it was creepy. It was odd, but it was a fairy. It was very old, like 1911, and it hung in her house. Now, you got to think 1911, kind of a big picture of a fairy standing there, and it was just the fairy close up. It was this beautiful but haunting look, like so much wisdom. Why would someone, let's just think about it. In 1911, people weren't thinking about this kind of thing, and they definitely didn't have a big picture hanging in their house. And then I just think I was given this memory as validation that
Yeah.
they've been with my family line for a very long time,
Yeah.
because they do, like your grandmother. So I totally had forgotten that from a long time ago. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that was a beautiful memory. So I think this triggered that. I thank you. And I want everybody to buy, let me put this up again, so they can get your book, and as well as the Fairy Whispering 111 Magical Practices for Connecting with the Fairies. And I also want you to buy all of this. I want you to get the Pocket Oracle of Fairies, as well as Manifesting with the Fairies. Do check out Karen's website that I have down below, and you've seen it all along, as well as she'll have the Fairy Festival and all that information on there. And then you're going to be doing so much more. So get on her. You have a mailing list that people can join?
Yeah, I do. It's on my personal website, which is karenk.co.uk. And if you go on there, I'm having a new one built at the moment. It should be ready around about now-ish. And you just go on, and then there'll be a pop-up box where you can just join the newsletter. And I send once every week, sometimes every 2 weeks. I don't send lots.
Me too. I don't send a lot.
Informational and news and what's going on, and I just like to share little bits. So great.
I mean, people need to stay connected with you just so they can feel like they're part of your world. That's what that's about. It's not about just hammering people with promotion. So I get it. Not every email is going to bombard you. So this will be nice. So sign up for her newsletter too. Also, I want to leave a little teaser. After you've purchased all of Karen's materials and her new book, stay tuned, because Karen is going to bless my fairy land. It's not a garden. It started as a garden. It's huge. It's like 12, 14 different neighborhoods around a 300-year-old tree that I've done a video of, including my Fae mother and my family dressed as Lord of the Rings. And she's going to bless that. And we've been talking about this 2 years. So finally, I got all the images together to show everybody, so they can enjoy this, and it can inspire you to have your own fairy garden or fairy neighborhood.
Yeah, that's so good. I do. I know we're ending, but in the book, I do talk about a way to connect with the fairies is to create your own fairy garden. So there's practical things in there, spiritual things in there, all sorts. But creating a fairy garden is one of the best ways to have a connection with the fairies and to let them know that you're there and you want that connection. So I'm so excited to see your fairy garden. Yay.
Well, stay tuned for the next one on that. And Karen, thank you. I always, I don't know if you know that, but I send blessings and prayers of abundance and happiness to you always. And may all your dreams come true.
And I wish the same for you. I really do. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, like, make comments, and share with your friends. I appreciate you and your continued support.